Thank you for taking the time to share your story. And I'm excited to learn more about your journey and starting writing books for kids and then quitting your job. And I know it's a whole story out there. I'm just excited to learn more about it and how you are now helping people to write with stories. But before we get into the detail, what led you to writing?
Yeah, well, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. I've been a writer my entire life. I started when I was really, really little. I used to tell stories. I just would audibly tell stories because I had Barbies and I would just make up little stories for them. And each one had like their own role. And then when I learned to write and I was in first grade, I used to write a bunch of stories and I would actually get in trouble for writing too much.
Is that a thing?
Yes, I was that kid who got in trouble for writing too much.
Wow.
Yeah, they would be like, write one piece of paper and I would have like this story that would be very long and they'd hang them in the hallway and they'd have to fold mine up.
This is so cool.
Yeah.
And then what happened after that? You just continue or?
Yeah, so I wrote like forever. Like my friend and I in third grade would like, compete on who could make the best stories. And I took a class on children's book writing when I was in seventh grade, actually. Like, so I just knew I wanted to be a children's book writer. But by the time I got to high school, I was like, well, being a writer isn't a realistic job. Like that isn't what you can do. So I went to school and kind of put away writing for a while. And I did like the corporate thing and was like, yeah, I can just have a job and like write on the side. But I was super unfulfilled. I hated life. I went through like a hardcore quarter life crisis where you just feel like every single thing that you were doing is wrong. And I had a job at one point as I was still writing and like I was still working on stories. And I had a job where I would get to work at 8 a.m. and I would be done with all of my work by 9 a.m. But I still had to stay at work until 5 p.m. And it was the worst thing. Like it was so draining for a brain because it just didn't feel like I was doing anything. So I was writing all my stories and listening to like The Secret and the 4-Hour Work Week. And I'm like, I just need to quit my job. I'm not doing what I should be doing. I should be a writer. So I just quit.
So, and I think that's happened back in summer of 2018 when you create that PowerPoint for your husband to explain why you should be quitting because you have no kids right now.
Yes,
That was interesting. When I read that, I'm like, that sounds something like I will do.
Yeah, he didn't believe me. It was my boyfriend at the time. He's my husband now. So we stuck around. And he was getting ready to go on a trip. He was going to Cincinnati and we live in Iowa. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to quit my job when you get back. He's like, no, you're not. I'm like, yeah, I'll explain everything. It'll be fine. So on the plane ride home, I'd sent him a PowerPoint with every single reason why it's going to be okay. I'm going to quit my job. I even had a case study in there of one of our friends who had a boyfriend that didn't do anything. I'm like, they are fine. He doesn't work. Yeah. So then I just gave them notice and I was like, I'm just going to do it.
Oh my goodness. This kind of notice is like, well, I'm giving you notice of eviction. Well, honey, this is not the eviction. This is actually me quitting my job instead. We're not getting kicked out yet. Oh my goodness.
You should have had like a little bit of a warning because when he first met me, I was unemployed because I used to work retail and they'd been eliminating positions. So one summer, my position got eliminated. So I never went and got a new job. I just sort of lived off my severance, like chilling at the pool, writing children's books. And I had to go get a job because I needed insurance because I was like, growing up, I was going to hit that 26 mark where you can't be on your parents anymore. So I'm like, okay, I'll go get a real job.
Go get a real job. I love to write, but since people don't call writing a real job, so I'll go show everyone I can get a real job in the corporate world where I feel miserable and I hate my life every day I go there.
Every day.
Sound interesting. Yeah, sound interesting. Let's do it.
Yeah. I did that for 3 years. That was a bad decision.
Yeah, I think so too. You should just start publishing books and be done with it.
Exactly.
Oh my God, this is super interesting. I love it. I was reading things on your website and reading different things. And I'm like, she did that? Seriously? She did a PowerPoint? She went to that whole stage of the PowerPoint? I didn't think of that at all.
I'm a little type A. That's just how I am.
Yeah, but you went to the next level. Usually we just go like, you know what, I'm quitting my job, I'm starting my own business. And we're done with it. But you went to like the whole system, the case study,
This
everything.
is why. Well, I didn't really have a plan. I'm just going to write. I'm just going to see what happens. I didn't start a business until January of 2019. I quit in August of 2018. So for like 4 months, I'm just chilling, writing every day, waking up. And then I was like, oh, I should have a platform. I should make a website and tell people like I'm a writer. So then I started Journey to Kidlit, which is all about how I was trying to become a writer. And it turned into this like 6-figure business essentially in a year.
Yes, actually, it's amazing to read that. And on your website, you mentioned that you made many mistakes. Can you give us a few examples of the mistake that you made, and how did you find your way around them?
Oh, yeah. So life is a struggle. You have to learn. It's like being a baby, you know, like they try to learn to walk and they fall so many times. So I feel like it's the same whenever you're trying to learn anything. So when I first started writing children's books, like pretty seriously, like I joined SBWI in 2015, which is the Society of Children's Book Writers. And I was one of those newbies, which everyone I feel like starts at. And I had drawn all of my own art. I had this a very specific story. It was for 16-year-olds. It was a Snow White retelling about body types. You know, there was the 7 sorority sisters instead of the 7 dwarves. And so I'm like, oh, this is the best picture book. It's going to be great. It like was not the right category. It was not the right thing. You should not send sketches to people. I just was like blast mailing it off to publishers, like literally breaking all the rookie mistakes. That's what I did. And then I learned because I met an author and she pretty much schooled me. She laughed in my face and she's like, that's not how you get published. So I went through this huge thing of like actually having to learn every single thing. And that's how I became a writer and a really strong writer. But so then I wanted to become a publisher and I did all of the same stuff. I made all these mistakes. Like I didn't know that a spine has to go a very specific way. So my very first book, my spine is upside down.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. They probably will put the pyramid upside down anyway very soon.
Right? It's totally fine. You only notice when it's next to other books.
I think people probably will look at it like it's probably a new style or something cool you're trying to do for kids. Especially it's a kid's book, you know?
Right? It's just meant to be upside down.
It's meant to be. It's not a mistake at all. I know what I'm doing. Oh my God, this is so funny. So can you tell us about Journey to Kidlit? Am I saying it's a Kidlit?
Kidlit.
Kidlit. Can you tell us the journey, what is it all about?
Yeah. So Kidlit is just children's literature. It's the slang term that everyone uses in the industry when we write children's book. And so I was trying to come up with a name for a company because I'm like, it has to be something with Kidlit. And what the thing is when you are a children's book writer, everyone's journey, everyone's path, everyone's like whole way that they go to get published is completely different. So we came up with Journey to Kidlit because that's what it is. It's a journey. I've been on this journey for almost 10 years and it's never ending. And so what it does is we teach people how to write and publish a children's book from idea to finished book. We really, really focus on the writing side though. So like I'm your writing coach, I'm your editor. We do monthly coaching. We have this huge course that we teach that's like all immersive because if you don't have a good story and you aren't a good writer, then every single thing else that you do doesn't work. Like I have a publishing house as well. And our requirement when you work with us at the publishing house is you have to have your book edited because you can't move to illustrations if you don't have a strong story. And you can't have a book fully illustrated and then expect to send it to the printer and send it to a kid and not have them chuck it on the floor. Like we want to not waste a kid's time because they only get a couple of years to read a book before they move on to the next category. So
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. In the services you pretty much are providing them is the coaching part and the editing part, and make sure pretty much that book is ready to go to publish.
Yeah. And it's fun and it's engaging and it's meant for the kid. Because so many of us, when we first start, even when I started writing, you think about yourself. Well, this is the story I want to write. I want to help with anti-bullying. I want to help with this. I want to shove this lesson at them. but it's about a kid. I mean, like, kids want to enjoy reading, and you're introducing them to literature. So you're making them into future readers, and you want them to continue to read into life. And you do that by giving them something that's worth their time. So we really, really emphasize that. Like, we believe every book has a place on a bookshelf if you can write it well enough. That's like where our bar is.
And you know what? Some people will think that, hey, I'm just writing for kids. What do they know? And
Yeah.
I like your services because I don't think everyone think about it. Just because they are kids do not mean they don't know how to, when you make a mistake, they'll catch it. They probably will be the first to tell you before the parents tell you.
They
So
will.
yeah.
Yeah, they will actually they're pretty ruthless. They'll be like, no, this book sucks. Thanks, Mom. No thanks. and it's really funny to me because I teach adults, right, how to write. And then I'll go on school visits because I'm also an author, and kids grasp the concept of storytelling so much easier than adults because we try to put so much stuff in it. My kids are so authentic that I'm like, come up with a story goal, come up with a story problem. Oh, dog ran away, or this dinosaur's trying to eat your foot. Like, they just come up with things where an adult's like trying to figure out what moral, what value they can really shove into it, which is great, but you still have to have a story. And the story is really the most important part.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. And it's kind of the funny part is that one of your books, I knew it as soon as I was checking your website that I saw your book. And I'm like, wait a minute, I know this book. I mean, like, and I called my son over and I said, "Did you have a book like that?" It's like, "Yeah, my ABC book, and I write." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm meeting the author soon."
You have Pirates Stuck at Sea?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
He had that book, and it was just the funniest thing ever. And he's like, really, mommy, you are? I'm like, yeah, I am. Oh, so you're meeting a celebrity? I'm like, yeah, I am.
Yeah, I am. I love it because you are.
Yeah, it was just super cool that he was just excited the fact that he knew, like, he read your book, so he knew, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that makes me so excited.
Yeah. So, like, you would, I think it's about 3 books now you have out, and and you're starting that journey to helping other people to write their own books.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us how does that impacting your books, how they're impacting other children's life?
Yeah, it's been so cool. So we've been around for 3 years now, so we've been able to really grow, and we've helped. We've had over 1,000 people in our course, and so many of them have become authors. And like, the best part is like, just like what you were saying, it's when you figure out that someone has read your book, or like your friend sends you a Snapchat or an Instagram of their kid reading your story, or you get like a text like, we had to read this 4 times before we went to bed tonight. And like, just knowing that you're making a difference, even though it's not like we're not selling millions of books like some people think that's what children's book writers do. But the fact that a 76-year-old made her dream come true and put her first book out, and it's in Barnes & Noble, and it's in Amazon, and it's everywhere, and her grandchild got to read it, that's like huge. And it's like heart-changing. And yeah, and like getting to see books that aren't normally on shelves, like, because there's so many stories that go untold that, I don't know, it's just really awesome. It's so fun.
But also that be able to read stories that's coming from women that's like actually even mothers, and then they already know what the kids are looking for. So it's very interesting. I think that publishing company should look into mom that's published book more often, because they know what the kids are looking for. Seriously, they do.
Yeah, moms, teachers, all of them. Yeah,
and they do.
They tell the best stories too.
Absolutely,
they have so many.
So after everything you went to, the PowerPoint, the case study, and I'm still wondering, did you actually bring the guy over to do the case study with your husband? He probably did.
No, he was just on the slideshow. He doesn't know he made the case study.
I think that your next idea probably was to invite him over. Honey, here he is. You can ask him questions.
It really was. It was like, let's have dinner. Let's see how their lives are going.
With everything, starting a business is not easy. Making that decision, saying that I'm going to step out from everything I was doing, corporate, and start my own, it's like the hardest decision you can possibly make.
Yeah.
And you actually, everything we paid for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not only having a six-figure business, but also be able to win a few awards, like reading it from your website, you won the Moonbeam Children's Award, the Purple Dragonfly. It's very interesting to see that you overcome all this in just a few years.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about the awards and then because it's your accomplishment, you should tell the world about them.
Yeah, well, like you said, I have 3 books. So Pirates Legacy is my first book. And it's really interesting because all of my books came out in 2020. So Pirates came out in February. So we did a school visit launch is how we sort of did it. So we visited 30 schools in 1 month. To go and like celebrate our book. But then March happened. So like the world shut down. So like then I had to become like a different type of marketer. So it's been really cool that my books were still able to get like award winning and still get recognition when it just shifted the environment so quickly and how books are seen and how you're even able to interact and to market with them. But Pirates Legacy is my first, and it's the one that got the Moonbeam Best Children's Book for Alphabet Picture Book. And then it also got the Purple Dragonfly and Humans in Training, which is my story about a puppy who has to train as humans, got the Mom's Choice Award Gold level, and then the Royal Dragonfly, and then This Is My Castle, which I think is my favorite book, but it hasn't sold as well, probably because it came out in November, but it got the Independent Choice or the Independent Press Award for Distinguished Favorite Preschool Picture Book, and it's a friendship story and it's super magical, so it's like totally my alley.
What I like with that one, with the castle one, is when I'm looking at the little girl in that cover, it's like that little girl is ready to go to war.
Yeah, I wanted her to be extra sassy because she's just like, get out of my castle. Like in the book, she's kind of.
I mean, like if you look at her expression, it's like if you don't get out of here, something bad is about to happen to you, dude. Yeah.
Exactly. You better be running because this is hers. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I was looking at the cover. I'm like, whoa, she means business.
Yeah, and that one has 2 covers too. So the first one, the one that's like on everything, is a dust cover. So then when you buy it and you pull it off, there's like another cover underneath because the illustrator and I had so much fun with her and all of her characteristics and all her personality that we couldn't pick a cover, so we made 2.
Well, I think you need to write a second story of her because she's like so like. I think kids will kind of like love that story. But your books, what kind of children? What is the range of age that you write for kids?
Yeah, so they're all picture books, which normally are like 4 to 7, but mine are slightly younger. They're more of a preschool age book, so 3 to 6 is ideal for my books. So preschool, a little bit maybe before or kindergarten.
Okay, so how do you feel about this all this great accomplishment?
The oldest grade? Is that what you said? Sorry.
How do you feel like to be able to accomplish so much in so little time? So how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. And honestly, half the time I don't even realize that I actually really accomplished much. I have to be like, whoa, no, you've actually grown like huge. And from the point, even where I was last year to where I am this year is just insane. And it's amazing how quickly things happen and how easily sometimes we can get so bogged down in like business or like things that are going on in the day to day that we forget to like reflect and be like, yeah, this happened. This is where we were a year ago. This is where we were 2 years ago. Can you believe it was only 4 years ago that you were sitting at an office working 8 hours a day, chained to a desk, hating your life. And now look at you working on that PowerPoint.
Oh my goodness. That's so you should be working in the PowerPoint instead.
Yeah. I mean, I still make PowerPoints all the time. Like if you want to get a pitch from me, it's a PowerPoint. If it's a webinar, we're making PowerPoints. It was good. It's a life lesson.
Oh my God, you're amazing. So, would you say that if someone looking to write, especially you're not a writer yet, would you say that it's better to reach out to a company like Journey to Kid Late to help you out to be able to get out there the proper way?
Yeah, I definitely think so because even if you're a natural storyteller, like I've been a storyteller my entire life, there's still fundamentals you have to learn in order to write a really good book. So when you go through someone like Journey to Kidlit, you're getting all of the skills, you're getting all of the knowledge, and how much you want to work with us is, completely up to you, because we have free resources on our blog, we have a YouTube channel, all the things, but then we also have the monthly coaching where you can go in depth and I will help you every single day. So we have like a spectrum, but no matter what, you're getting all of that knowledge, you're getting all of that information, and then if your story is on the right track before you then move on to someone like Amazon KDP or BookBaby and you're trying to produce a book, because then you know that you've created something of quality versus just putting something out into the world to clog the whole spectrum.
And not only that, also I will think that you get them really the proper way to push themselves out there as well, because just because you write a book doesn't make you an author. Sometimes right. we have no clue what we're writing about, and we don't even can build a fan. Even if you have kids, actually writing kids story, I will think you can build a bigger fan, because like kids can belong to your stories and just love it. Like my son now is into Harry Potter, so it's like even they are old, but he's still like interested in the story and try to read them. And I think be able to build yourself like that will make a huge impact. And then that's pretty much what you do with them, is to get them ready for that, and also not making the same mistakes you made by sending all these things out there that you're not supposed to be sending.
Yeah, exactly. And like those are things like you can easily avoid a lot of that rejection, which can be really defeating. So when you start with someone like Journey to Kidlit, you really get yourself on a better path, which is why we exist, because there wasn't anything like that when I started. And so it just feels like you have more support and you really have guidance when you're going along this journey. Because when you write, you're all by yourself. So it's nice to know you have like a community of people that are kind of in the same boat as you.
Exactly. And don't get me wrong, it's okay to have your mom, your grandfather, your aunt, your sisters. It's okay to have them to read it, but having a professional read it and give you the professional thought and really what's happening within that story is more important than your mom gonna say, "Oh, honey, that's a great story. Yes. You should publish that." I know, exactly. Mom will say that a lot.
They're way too nice. Our family members, like, bless their hearts, they're too sweet and nice. Like, we need someone to be partial. Like, we need someone to give us what's real and really, really help us, because that's the only way we grow as writers and we make something good. My mom, she has told me my stories are great, and they were not great.
I know. They always tell you it's perfect, honey. People are going to love it. You should publish it. Yeah. And, they just try to give you that encouragement to make you go out there and do something with your life. But at the end of the day, I think that someone like you, you've been through it. You went through it. You know how it is. Yeah. So I think you can help people a lot better than mom can.
Yeah. And editing and critiquing is my favorite. So if you give me a story, like, I just love to like find all the ways we can make it better. So
I like that. So you also talk about you on the ARA for Iowa SCBWI, if I say that right properly. Yes. And you also like a member of a multiple publishing group like IBPA. There's another one you say MIPA. Is that how we will say it? MIPA.
Yep, MIPA. So SCBWI is the Society of Children's Book Writers. It's a super awesome society, nonprofit. It's where I got started. It's amazing because you just get to meet so many people. They're really great for events, like getting to network and meet other authors and agents and editors. And then being in the publishing ones, because especially since I have my own publishing house, like we're an ally, which is for self-published authors. We are an ally for them. So like if you need editing services or anything else, we are vetted as a good company and like good people to work with. And IBPA is the Independent Book Publishers Association. The Midwest Independent Publishers Association is MIPA, MIPA. So just like having all of those things, we've really made sure to like go through and make sure that we're qualified and like good company, good people to work with, but also have a really nice network and like be able to, bounce ideas off of other people, because even though publishing can be like singulatory, entrepreneurship can be singulatory, having like connections and having like a network is always helpful, because then you can ask questions like, who's your printer? Because we've had so many paper shortages lately and printing has been super delayed. So being able to like ask questions and just network and have all of those things is really awesome.
Yeah, you're right about that. Even with our magazine, we receive an email from the printing company telling us that they're behind, so the magazine won't be on time. So what can we do about it? Because it
Yeah.
is what it
Like,
is. Yeah.
I know we just had to push a book a whole month. And the author's like, a month? And I'm like, I know. It like, what do you do? Like, it just sucks because there's nothing you can do other than just be like, okay.
Exactly. So I know you have the journey to Kidlit, where you help them getting the books, writing the books. Well, they write it, you edit it, and so kind of you guide them to the whole process, right? So
Yeah.
you have the other company where it's the publishing part. So if someone comes to you say, "I need the whole package," can you do that?
Yep. So BiblioKid Publishing is our whole package. We can do everything for you. And so what we do is we start everyone with editing. They have to have their book edited. We find them an illustrator. We have an award-winning, Caldecott award-winning book designer that we pair them with. And we build all of the final files. And then we have a printing and distribution that we get set up in. And then we have a marketing team that helps guide them, because you can make an awesome book, but if no one knows about it, what's the point? So we help them with that too. And it's like our all-in package.
Do you also help them get in store?
Mm-hmm. So the distribution does that. And so it puts them everywhere. It's in like Barnes & Noble, all local stores, libraries. We get them leveled so they can be in schools, all the things.
Absolutely. Oh, I like that. Being in school, yeah, especially for kids. Yeah, it's good to be in the school system.
Yeah. And then we get them a Library of Congress number so that way they can be in the libraries. Like, there's all these things. We have like 100-point checklist that we have to follow.
Yeah, but you know what? People that's just starting out, they don't know all these things.
Yeah, I know.
They really don't.
Yeah, and so that's why we started BiblioKid, because so Journey to Kidlit, was growing. We had all of these authors, but they were reaching this thing that a lot of people do is you don't know how to do anything and you're trying to figure it out in self-publishing, and it's so hard. I mean, like, I put my spine upside down. Like, there's a lot of things. Like, I'm not lying when I say we have 100-point checklist for all of our books. But then if you try traditional publishing, it just takes forever, like 5-10 years. And it's just because there's such high competition and there's, they can only print so many books a year. So there's just, it's a patience game. So we wanted to create something that was kind of a bridge between the two. So that's where BiblioKid comes into place, where we help you the way a traditional publishing house does, but it's like self-publishing because you can get your book out faster and you have a lot more control and all of that. So
absolutely. Really cool. Yeah, I like how you put the two companies. It's like hand to hand. They work together. They can actually. It's like a full package together.
Yeah, exactly. They're sisters.
Would you say that it's better to self-publish a book or get a publishing company to help?
It honestly depends on your goals and really what you're wanting to do with your book. Because self-publishing, you get, no matter how you publish your book, you get treated the same. You get to be in school visits, you get to do all of the things, go out to the vendors. But if you're wanting your book to come out really fast, if you are willing to do a lot of the work, like the legwork yourself, like doing all of the marketing, setting up those social profiles, talking to people, doing giveaways, those types of things, self-publishing is great. But if I don't want to do any of the research, I don't want to have to come up with my own marketing plan, I don't want to have to do anything, and I'm okay with like waiting a while, maybe traditional publishing. And that's why hybrid is a really good one too, because maybe you want it to happen faster, but you want the help of a publisher. So that's where the hybrid, like a BiblioKid, would come into play, because it's like that third tier. But yeah, it's all based off your goals.
Okay, so pretty much it's depending of what you are looking to do. But with the publishing part, you pretty much handle everything on your own compared to the when you self-publish, you handle everything compared to the company handling it for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you self-publish, it's all you. You're like a CEO of your own little publishing house. And then like you have to find the illustrator, you have to find the book designer, or you have to do those things. You have to find the editor, or if you work with a house, they work like a team. So they help find all these people for you and build it all for you.
And that's pretty much what your publishing company does. So pretty much they take everything off that new author's shoulder, or even a repeat author's shoulder, so that they can focus on what's more important, and you do the back end work.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is the benefits? Would you say what would be the top benefits of going through a publishing company, like a house company like yours?
Yeah. So one of the best things is you get support, you get a team. You're not forced to Google everything and try to figure it all out. And there's also a level of fear. Like people have this like fear of just not being good enough. And so like we even run into it in our authors where they start to get a little nitpicky when it comes to like the illustrations or final edits and stuff. And we have to be like, this book is going to print. It's going to be great. Like we're going to do it. Because you can be so frozen. And if no one is there to be pushing you along and making you stick to your deadlines, you can keep pushing that deadline farther and farther away. And your dream of having a published book gets farther and farther away. And then just having that support and knowing that like, you're not the only one posting on social media. You're not the only one who's trying to sell your book. You're not the only one who's celebrating with you is always really, really great.
Absolutely. I like the idea. Instead of you doing all the work, especially if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are the writing techniques for writing a great story?
Yeah. So before you can ever start writing, a lot of people just want to go straight in and start typing away on their first draft. But there's three things you have to have.
That sounds good. That sounds good. Just go right
Yeah, right? Just like start going. No, you have to, there's three things you have to get. The setting, which is more than just the world, like where you're sitting right now is the setting, but you want to know exactly, specifically, like you're in your office. I'm in my house. Like, where are you meeting your character? So many authors forget that part of the setting. So then they have their reader floating in Nowheresville, and you need to ground your reader because it's so much about the reader. Yes, it's about our story, but it's also about the reader and their experience. And then you have a character that is relatable and is human and makes normal decisions. So like I was reading a story once that was about someone who lost their shoe. And so they immediately were like, oh, the shoe, I'm going to make it into something. I'm like, no, somebody would like go and want to look for their other shoe. Like they're not just going to be like, oh, I only have one. Like, so making sure that they're authentic and they're real characters and then giving it a purpose. We call it the so what factor. Lisa Cron coined it, and we use it because you have to have a story goal. You have to have a focus. Otherwise, there's no point. Like, why does someone need to be reading your story? And why does this present time in this character's life matter? And what's the point? Like, why are we here? And that's what a lot of authors forget. Or they try to put too many things in. They're like, it's about all of these ideas. It's too many.
So what I'm hearing from you is that the readers have to be able to connect with the characters. And if they cannot connect with the characters, then that's a big problem.
Yeah, exactly. And even if you don't have a standard character, like let's say your reader is your character, you still have to build a character profile because it's still a character. Even though it's like told in second point of view, it still has to be authentic and real and be able to connect to it. Because otherwise, what's the point of keeping them going? What's going to make them turn the page? Mm-hmm.
I see your point. Huh,
yeah.
Great techniques. So what's your future plan for Journey to Kidlit?
Well, we're getting ready. We're doing a picture book boot camp right now, and we're getting ready to do a Kidlit Writing 101. But like our goal is just to meet more authors, and we just want to keep expanding our reach and just keep helping more people because there's so many people who have a story they want to tell and they want to do it, but they have like something that's holding them back, whether or not it's time or their uncertainty or there's fear behind there. And so we just want to help literally all the people. So the more people we can meet and grow, the better. And then we'll trickle them down to BiblioKid.
So we need more writers. We need more children's books because it's good for the kids because it helps the kids develop more, a lot better, a lot faster. And I know I've seen it with my son. I made him, instead of me reading the books for him, I was making him reading the books instead.
Yeah, they say, I don't remember what the stat is. I was just looking it up the other day for an email, but it's like you get an extra few years worth of knowledge just from reading if you read to your kid before they go to kindergarten. And it's so true. I mean, like readers are like some of the smarter kids. They do better in school. They have a better attention span, but also they're more empathetic because they've experienced characters that have different lives than them. They've traveled places. They just understand like different points of view. Like there's so many benefits. I don't think there's any negative to reading.
I don't think there's any wait, is it reading too much is a problem? I don't know. People always come up with something.
Right?
So what is next? Are you publishing any new book anytime soon?
I'm working on a book right now that I'm finishing up. It's a spooky middle grade. And then I'm going to go on submissions. It means I'm going to try to get a traditional publishing contract with it. That's where I'm at. But then BiblioKid, we have 4 books coming out in the next month. So we've been very busy getting those ready.
Oh, but that's been 4 great authors. It's about to publish their own books.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah, it is. So what would be your message to authors who are just starting out?
If you're brand new, you're just starting out, you're trying to figure stuff out, my suggestion would be to get some knowledge, figure out the steps, like, go to Journey to Kidlit. We have a free children's book template, and just understand like how you figure out what those assets are, making sure you have the setting and all of those down. And then understanding what a plot is, understand how to start your story, because you're going to be better off than if you just start to put something on a page and like word vomit it. It's going to be easier if you have that structure in place first.
So I guess pretty much what you're trying to say, it's worth you investing in that now better than trying to do it and then do it wrong and then come back and try to invest on it again. It's a waste of time.
Yeah. And I know that, like when I was saying, even back when I was in high school, it's like, we don't feel like writing is a job or like you can't really do anything, but you do have to invest in yourself. You do need to take courses. You do need to, learn from people, like go to events and learn from people, but you have to do that investment. Buying books is important because it's only making you better and it's making you grow as a writer. So there's nothing bad about that.
I don't think investing in yourself ever anything bad, because at the end of the day, you have to keep learning. You have to keep growing. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, like in our company, we have a strong belief if you're not learning, you're stale. And like, that's just not one of our values. Like we have to learn.
Absolutely. Anything else you'd like to share with us before I let you go today?
No, just go to journeytokidlit.com and get the children's book template if you're interested.
Yes, I was looking at that template. And they should definitely get that one. Because I was looking at that. I'm like, she's giving a children's book template. If I just download that, I just run away from her so I don't have to get her services.
Yeah.
And when I have a feeling I have to go back to it because I probably won't understand anything in there.
I think you're going to have to listen to the emails a little bit because then I explain the template a little bit to you. Yeah. But it's free.
Yeah, but I feel like even, a lot of time, even when you get something and sometimes you just still need that someone to hold your hands and kind of guide you into it. Like, you have this, but I have this, but why do I do it this? So you still need that support of someone holding your hands, telling you A, B, C, and get it done.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's what coaches are for.
But still, download the template because it's a start.
Yes, it's the first step, and then I'll convince you to hang out with me more times.
You only convinced me. I have been the one asking you the questions.
I love it.
Oh, thank you, Brooke, for taking the time to speak with me. I appreciate it, and thank you for all you do, for what you are doing, and thank you for writing such a great book. I didn't even realize my son actually had a book.
That makes me so happy. Thank you so much for having me and for doing this. This has been so fun.